NC State beats number 8 Georgia Tech 48-36. It felt like Georgia Tech, Mac, they've had games like this on the road where they were flying too close to the sun, the Wake Forest game, the Duke game, and there's something about, I guess, when they go to North Carolina, they just didn't play well enough to win. I think that was obvious. That first drive from NC State, you're like, "Oh, okay. NC State's ready to play." We talked about the atmosphere at Carter Finley. The atmosphere was there. Like it was the recipe of what NC State does when they underachieve pretty much every year, but they beat a ranked team. Like that's just what they do.
Yes.
And offensively, Mac, no Hollywood Smothers, no Jolie, and they look great. Duke Scott, 24 carries for 196 yards and a touchdown. He was fantastic. Georgia Tech's issues stopping the run really came to fruition in this game, and then Georgia Tech settled for way too many field goals. Mac, I'm not sure I've seen a team, a modern football team that's like a top 10, top 15 team that is so reliant on one person. Like
I know.
that's pretty crazy with Georgia Tech, and the offense really wasn't the problem. You scored 36 points. If you scored 36 points, you probably should win the game.
Yeah. But I do think that those blunders, though, in the red zone were huge,
Yeah, yeah.
momentum swinging, big deal, because your defense can't stop a bloody nose, literally. I mean, this team had 590, is that what it is? 583 yards of total offense. I mean, that is crazy. And what's frustrating is you just brought in a new DC. You just brought in
Yeah,
a guy that you're hoping is going to make these changes. And it's just baffling. Clemson dealing with the same, freaking thing. And again, we'll talk about that here in a bit, but it is so puzzling that, some teams just can't do certain things. And it doesn't matter when, why, how they're doing. Georgia Tech has been bad on defense for the last however many years. And that's just it's their Achilles heel. This year, they're going to be, the Miami of last year. Got this
mhm,
superpower offense, and your defense can't help you win. Defense can't get out of, kind of their own way. And that's what's so frustrating is that you just have like it is so rare to do what they were doing. And still, they could, who knows, they could win out. They could win the national championship. You never know.
yeah.
But
Playoff
just
is
to
still very much in the picture. If
yeah,
you
yeah, yeah,
win
yeah.
the
I'm
ACC,
not
you're in.
yeah.
Like,
I mean, it's
yeah,
not code red, but it is way more difficult now. I mean, that
right.
every single person is going to try to write you off, and then they're going to look at strength of schedule and ranked teams and this and that. That Georgia game,
That's
um,
huge.
that Georgia game, if you win that, is your insurance. That'll keep you in, I think, win or lose in the ACC championship, or maybe you're not even in the ACC championship. Who knows what happens? Um, with a tiebreaker, crazy tiebreaker
Yeah,
situation.
true.
But I think if you beat them and lose the ACC championship, you still are probably in. Maybe,
That's good. Maybe
maybe,
we'll see where Georgia Tech is in the
maybe.
playoff poll, but Georgia does look gettable. I mean, Florida
For
almost
sure.
beat them.
Yeah. No, they
But
definitely do.
do you think some of this, Mac, was just Georgia Tech? They have a bye week now. Like, we know they've been beat up. Was it just they weren't gonna run the table? Like, maybe they're not good enough in terms of defensively to run the table. They were gonna take a loss somewhere, and this just is what it was? Is that too positive of an outlook?
No, I mean, maybe. I think it's just it's hard to wrap your head around that Haynes King threw the ball for 408 yards and you lost.
And you
Like
lose.
that's crazy. That's
NC
crazy.
State played
But
so well offensively, Mac, like,
offensively, yeah. Yeah, and
so
even at
well.
times defensively. I mean, that's what was, kind of frustrating too is like they did enough. It was that like
Mhm.
bend don't break, we're going to sack you, we're going to hit you, we're going to make you go backwards. The crowd's going to make you jump off
Yeah.
sides or flinch, back you up on kind of short situations that they had there. It's just, and even with all that said, they only had 4 penalties. That they still had less penalties than NC State did. And you look at the turnovers and things of that nature, they had 1-0. And it just was can't capitalize in the red zone. Can't make it happen.
Mhm.
When you need it most, and particularly your defense just can't stop anybody. And I think that again is what's so frustrating is that you look at the game, you look at who's out, who's such a vital piece, and maybe they relaxed. Maybe Georgia Tech relaxed and said, "Oh yeah, they don't have their 2 best players outside of a quarterback. Clearly, we're good, no problem." It'd be a walk in the park for us defensively today, and it was all but that. And so I think that is the frustrating part. And now it's just Georgia Tech will fall pretty significantly, I would imagine, and they're going to have to fight their way back in. And there's no room for error, really. There's no more stumbling blocks, and who
Mm-mm.
knows what you're able to do, just the rest of the way there. And for NC State, I thought this is what it could look close to. I'm not saying, 48 points per game, 600 yards of offense, but just the way CJ Bailey was throwing the ball, the way they were running the ball at will. I mean, for 5, 6 yards
With
of
their
rush,
backup.
with a backup. That was amazing. So this is the NC State I thought we'd get all year. Awesome to see them for one game. That's cool. Super fun.
Love that. Yeah, we absolutely love that. Mac, Georgia Tech, when you look at what they have remaining, they have a bye week, and then they have Boston College at Boston College. BC put up a fight against Notre Dame. Then they host Pitt and they host Georgia. So could be hosting 2 ranked
Those
teams
last
back
two
to back.
games at the end are brutal. I
Yeah.
mean, those are tough
But
games.
that's a good point with Georgia Tech. They have something that no other ACC team has. They have Georgia left. They have a true chance to make a massive statement,
Mhm.
and that's huge. I mean, that's you basically it's kind of like your second chance, if you
Mhm.
will, with
Mhm.
having this loss if you're Georgia Tech. Mac, I was like we said, we're super impressed with NC State. We're not trying to be negative. It's just you haven't really done this all year. You beat Virginia,
You're 5 and
which is
4.
a
It doesn't mean anything. Like, I don't care.
yeah.
I don't care. It
Virginia was
only
a great
hurts the
win.
conference.
I know, this was a great one. I
But it
do
is
wanna
good.
say
It's cool to see. It's cool to see, I
when
guess.
Georgia Tech went up 17-14, it was
Yeah.
almost halftime, and then NC State goes on that incredible drive, they score, then they get the ball back, and then they hit the field goal,
Mhm.
I was like, "Okay."
Mhm.
'Cause a lot of teams would've thought, "Okay, Georgia Tech goes up 17-14," and you're feeling like, "Georgia
Yeah.
Tech's gonna handle this." And
Mhm.
NC State just they fought back, and we hadn't really seen that all
Mm-mm.
year, outside of the
Mm-mm.
Virginia game, I guess.
Right. Right. Hadn't seen a team with, really that ability to do it or the will to do it and give huge credit to Coach Doran and to CJ Bailey and everybody involved. They did it. They motivated
And
their
NC
team enough,
State's
I believe.
fans. I
The
was
fans. It
impressed.
was it was
Yeah,
loud. It wa
yeah,
I love that when you can hear it through the TV. I mean,
yeah.
they were juiced up. They were ju and well, listen, we did a whole feature on it. We knew. Talked about Clemson losing there as a ranked team multiple times, talk about Florida State losing there and Jimbo multiple times. Like, it is a hard place to play at night when those fans wanna be as good as they can, and they were. They absolutely were.
Absolutely, that's a good point, Mac. I was watching the huddle and saw that feature and thought, "Oh, yeah, NC State does do this a
Spooky,
lot.
spooky place.
They tend to do this."